to Harrah's Hoosier Park Racing and Casino. We are excited to welcome you back for another morning with breakfast at the Hop. First race, first qualifiers under our belt, 51-1. Nice effort there. We're going to get started with our breakfast at the Hop immediately, right before the first 2-year-old race. So you've got a few minutes to get down here, come get your coffee, your Danishes, and come hang out with us. Again, breakfast at the Hop. We are so excited to welcome Hall of Famer and North America's leading trainer, Mr. Ron Burke, to the broadcast today. So we want to make sure that you're tuning in. And of course, come join us down for breakfast at the Hop. We'll get started here in just a few minutes. And Jacob, you told Ryan to record this, correct? Yeah. I mean, just make sure you can put it all up this time. I think that's like the button. So just. To Harris Hoosier Park Racing and Casino. Want to again welcome you to our Breakfast at the Hop. This is our second edition, and we are so honored and so glad to be welcomed alongside Hall of Fame trainer Mr. Ron Burke. Ron, I feel like a kid on Christmas morning getting the chance to interview. Want to thank you so much for taking the time.
Oh no, thank you very much. I loved it last week. I watched a show when you guys did it last week, and I thought that was very cool. It, was informative, and it was nice to see somebody, do something for the owners.
We were talking a little bit off camera, such an investment for these owners, and they put so much into it. You obviously put so much into it. It really is an exciting time. We talked a little bit about it last week about, this being the business of eternal optimists, but talk to us a little bit about what baby season means for you.
Honestly, it's the best and the worst of times. When the baby goes out that, does better than expected or does as well as expected, you're like, this is why we do it. The heartbreaker is the one, that you thought was a killer and then, doesn't even make a break or doesn't get thing, just gets outpaced. And you're like, damn, this is not good. That you were seeing glory and all of a sudden you're like, uh-oh. Some of them just aren't, when they're pushed, they don't have it. The thing is, when you find the one that does it, there's nothing feels better that like people always, you don't know the good ones. I can tell you the bad ones real quick.
Exactly. But again, a very exciting time. Like I said, an exciting time for our Breakfast at the Hop edition. Again, I want to introduce myself, Emily Gaskin, working right here at Harris Hoosier Park, and of course, our race marketing manager, Mr. Jacob Breinheimer. Jacob, I know we've been talking about this all week. Like I said, very excited, not only for Breakfast at the Hop, but like we said, the opportunity to talk to Ronnie and talk about babies yet again.
Yeah, really just kind of like you said, get on Christmas morning. We really enjoyed it last week. Ernie and Gavin, and see you come back to the Hall of Fame trainer and Ron Burke. Really looking forward to this. I know I talked about it last week, where you and I are text threads this time of year, Emily, where we're talking pedigrees, we're talking sales prices from last year, kicking ourselves for the one we missed, or maybe sometimes kicking ourselves for the ones we did buy. But just a lot of fun this time of year. Looking forward to this. And Ron, I just have to ask you a question. As you know, a lot of your horses are making their second qualifier of the season. How does the attitude kind of change from what you're looking for in that first qualifier to now what you're looking for in that second qualifier?
Yeah, we're definitely looking to be more aggressive today. We were pretty aggressive, though, with them last week. I think ours were a little bit more ready than maybe some of the other people. We train in sets of 7 or 8. So, for us, this is normal, what they're already used to. So, they put them on the front, all 3. That's not normally our style, but we wanted to go a certain time. Actually, the one colt did race from the back. So, maybe we'll look to be a little bit more aggressive, go a little faster today. Because the one thing you don't want to have to do is only qualify in 58, and then the first race you're going in 53. You don't want to drop 5 seconds, the first start.
Very much so. Like we said, so a number of yours making their second qualifier. We're coming up here with our first 2-year-old qualifier of the day, and a number of these fillies making their first starts of the day. Jacob, a nice field of 7 set to go postward here. None for Team Burke, but we've got a $62,000 yearling purchase off the rail for Team Irv Miller. This is a JK End of an Era filly out of a nice Sun Beach Somewhere mare.
Somewhere mare that's been popular here in the state of Indiana as they make a nice cross for a lot of the stallions that we do have. Ron, I do want to talk to you about JK and America. You trained him at 2 and 3, won North American Cup with him. What do you kind of remember about him as a racehorse, and what do you see him kind of translating to his game?
It was a perfect place to bring him here. First of all, he has 3 lungs. He never got tired. The horse always was, charging it at the end of the mile. Probably was never going to sire horses or was a horse that could get around the half. He was big. He was an art major. So, he's fit in here real well. I actually like buying off him. I would have committed totally to him and only buy his, but tell it like it is. They're so good. They're so tough, So, for me, it's become a little bit of a two sire state only, but Lou Betts here now, so it's a horse I trained who at the 2-year-old year, I would have not traded him for a Confederate. So I was wrong, but I do think he has a high ability.
Jake, yes, go ahead, Bob. Yeah, great question from Bob Hayden. Like we said, love having him join us. Hollywood Hayden asking Ronnie, been a little bit of a transition for you as far as yearlings purchase versus homebreds. Talk to us a little bit about what that transition's like been for Team Burke as Hollywood said finished 1, 2, 3 in the Breeders' Crown with some homebreds.
Yeah, basically it was because of Sweet Lou. Because of Sweet Lou, when we first went to stud, we bought mares or retained mares to support him. And like we started noticing like a lot of our better ones were the ones we were breeding ourselves. So now, we're breeding his daughters even to our other stallions, and we've bought shares and other things. So it's something we've enjoyed. It's not as much homebred for us as some other people where you're actually raising them. We're having them raised at top farms, but it's still, you do have way more pride when it's your stud, your mare, and you've looked at that baby as it grew up. So I love it. Being honest, I recommend it for anybody. Like if you get a mare you like, breed it. It's an enjoyable experience. It's not easy. It's not for the faint of heart, but you save a lot of money. Like, when you see what the babies are bringing and what you have in that baby, if you're breeding good horses, you're saving yourself a lot of money.
And just a quick question before we talk about this, we'll send it to the upcoming race to Michael Chamberlain. But along that note, Ron, do you, as far as, the mares and things like that, I mean, you obviously have a pretty stringent criteria of what you're going to hold over.
That's pretty much Mark Weaver's my criteria. Like Mark tells me we're keeping, who we're leaving. Like once in a while I'll throw myself and say I want one, but pretty much Mark makes that decision.
That's right. Again, we are getting ready for the first 2-year-old qualifier. Talking to trainer Ronnie Burke. He's got a horse in. We'll see a little later from the Wilt Standardbred barn, and we've got one in here that sold at the Hoosier Classic sale for Team Wren. That's Aiming at Glory. Wilt Standardbred consigned this horse, a 2-year-old filly by Rock and Image, a $55,000 yearling purchase. Second dam, Fire Start Hanover. Again, Jacob, first qualifier here, but a lot to look at in this first one. All right, up next, the third qualifier from Harris Hoosier Park Racing and Casino.
Starting gate is rolling for this third qualifier. We do have a driver change in here. Number 4, Better Be My Way, will be driven by Brandon Bates. All the others as listed in the program. And here they come. They are off. Wonderkin Blue Chip at the inside. And there goes Aiming at Glory on the outside. Aiming at Glory is moving right up, with Wonderkin Blue Chip second now. Then Son of Era is third. Lady McKenna next, with Already Sassy outside that. Another 2 lengths back to Better Be My Way, and Angel at Your Feet is 7th and last. On the first turn, and Peter Wren has Aiming at Glory in front through a quarter mile of 29 and 4. Aiming at Glory with a 2-length lead. Wonderkin Blue Chip is next, second. After that, Son of Era. Lady McKenna is racing fourth. After that is Already Sassy fifth. The trailing 2 here are Better Be My Way and Angel at Your Feet as they move single file up the back stretch. And the leader remains Aiming at Glory, a length and a half better than Wonderkin Blue Chip as the field comes to the half-mile pole. Aiming at Glory takes them through the half in 1 minute and 4/5. Second quarter was 31 seconds. Aiming at Glory still a length and 3/4 better than Wonderkin Blue Chip. Following that is Son of Era, and Lady McKenna is fourth. Fifth spot is held by Already Sassy. Sixth is Better Be My Way, and Angel at Your Feet is the trailer. And Angel at Your Feet now shifts to the outside, as does Lady McKenna from mid-pack. Approaching the top of the stretch, Aiming at Glory with the lead as they hit 3/4 in 1:31 and 3. Aiming at Glory with the lead. Now moving up on the outside is Lady McKenna. Wonderkin Blue Chip trying to stay on as they come to the final 1/8 of a mile. Aiming at Glory. Lady McKenna is moving up. In between horses is Son of Era. Wonderkin Blue Chip on the inside. Angel at your feet on the far outside. Aiming at Glory, trying to withstand these late challenges. Son of Era, Lady McKenna, three-way photo in 1:58.3 right across the track. Aiming at Glory, Son of Era, and Lady McKenna in the first of our 2-year-old qualifiers this morning.
3 fillies across the track in 1:58.3. Certainly what you want to see there. Lady McKenna, we were just talking about her, a filly that I loved at the sale. She was a beautiful physical specimen. Looks like she certainly stepped up to the plate here today. Yeah, and just one of those things. 3 fillies across the track, and certainly, like we said, exciting times. Wonderkin Blue Chip, another filly that we talked about, beautiful specimen on the track. Nice physical looking filly, and looks like Team Irv Miller have got a nice JK filly there.
Yeah, we touched on the Amen at Glory too. I was really impressed by her getting to a lead after starting from the outside for the 7. She set the mile and really was dead game all the way down the lane, even the fillies coming at her. So I think that's just some really happy connections, especially with those top 3 here.
Again, a pleasure to be joined alongside Ronnie Burke. We were talking a little bit, Ronnie, about yearling sales and things like that. And like I said, I promise not to get out my Rolodex of questions, but a number of questions. Obviously, we were talking last week to my dad and Bob Hayden, talking about, Billy Houghton and the stable stature that he had. And I was talking to my dad about it, and he said, you're the modern day Billy Houghton. And you talk about yearling season, and talk to us a little bit about how you just keep things organized.
It's a little bit different for the state of Indiana. It's we do it a little bit different here. Most of the other states, we already had everything picked out and done before we even go to the sale. Dr. J. Bridget Jablonski now works for us, and Brad Grant, and she goes to multiple farms multiple times of the year. So pretty much we've whittled it down to, when we get there, I just have to approve the final list and go through and look at them. Here, I come with like 20. I try to hold it to that 20. I go and look at the 20 myself, and, I make the decision. And, we're very to studs here. There's a couple pacers. For trotters, for us, it's only Swan for All, only not to knock any other stud. I've had a Hannelore, I've had MM Dreams now for them. I've had, top horses all by them. So I go, don't try to, if it isn't broke, don't fix it. Go with what makes easy for you. And those horses fit our barn. So they'll take the pushing, the stretching, and, so that's what we do. So it's a different for everybody, but, I try to keep it to 20. I pick the ones I really like and then try to make sure I get them.
And talking about, you making that list and having that list, talk to us a little bit about when you go to the yearling sale, what are you looking for in the horse? Or, what are you putting emphasis on? Is it the physicality of the horse, maybe the personality of the horse, bone structure, obviously, alignment and things like that with the legs. But talk to us a little bit about, what you're really looking at when you're looking at a yearling at the yearling sale.
It's pretty much to the most everything. I want to see it. They look like an athlete.
Yeah.
It's the same as you see a little kid. You can tell even with the little kids, like that kid's an athlete, that kid's not. You might be wrong here and there, but for the most part, it's pretty easy to pick out the athletes. Then, you try to see, you want families that have a superstar. You got to at least have one superstar in the family. You're not trying to reinvent the wheel. If it's a family that, historically is given average horses, why is this one going to be different? So you were looking for something that tells you that there could be greatness in the family, and it's funny, like the one colt we brought this year, the Starlet Frankenstein, he was way cheaper than I thought. And I think what people held against him was that he was a bay, and most of the good Swan for Alls are dark,
black, yeah.
And people like, if they're not dark, I don't want them. Well, the thing is though, Starlet Frankenstein is a spitting image to Southwind Frank.
Right.
So he looks like his dad. Well, his dad was cool. He was good for us. So I was like, that didn't bother me, but I felt we got a good deal on him because of that. If he'd have been dark, he would have brought 5 times as much.
Right. Okay. Very good. Yes. So Bob Hollywood Hayden's question is cattle wash and all bets off are sons of a great sire. Any chance that they could go on and do the same?
You're asking them to be Bettor's Delight and be Some Beach Somewhere. To me, the 2 best sires of my generation. All bets off is off to a great start. We've had, Pass Line, who was second in the Breeders' Crown here, Trophy Taker, who won the Sire Stake, 2 weeks ago and thing up there. So I love them. The 2 first cattle washes I qualified are great. They train down great. They look great, but we're talking some beach somewhere and, and Better's Delight. So, if they could be half the sires their fathers are, I'll be thrilled. That's, they're in the right programs. They're in good spots, but, those are Better's Delight still. I mean, he had 4 of the 9, but for the North American Cup, that's unbelievable. The horse is 25
That
years
is
old.
incredible. Yeah, absolutely incredible. Yes. I couldn't agree more with Bob on that question too. So question is, Crazy Wow, terribly underrated as a racehorse. Do you feel like the same thing is happening to him as a sire?
I tell people all the time, the best value in breeding right now is Crazy Wow as a stallion. Like there's nobody that you have a better chance. The only chance in New York to beat a Chapter 7 is a Crazy Wow to me. And, Chapter 7, one, if you could even get a breeding, it's 25,000, and 2, like to buy one, anything that you're going to like is going to be 100 or more. So, we had 2 Chapper Crez and Sister Mary Maud in the last 2 years. They look like their fathers. They trot like their father. He's a very good horse.
Great question. And again, want to welcome everybody to Breakfast at the Hop. If you've got questions, super conversational. So please feel free to speak up. Like we said, we've got Bob on retainer for our questions. So love to have him here. We're getting ready for the 4th race. And we've got a nice field of 7 set to go postward here. And Ronnie, we were talking a little bit about, sires and things like that and how cool it's going to be. We talk about Better's Delight and Some Beach Somewhere. And, a number of the sires that you have trained are going to be those horses or take those horses' footsteps. Similar story for me when I look at these dams and I see the 2nd and 3rd dams and I watch them race. It begins to date me, and I really start to feel old when I see similar story here with the one in Era's Image. I remember this mare, Image of Felicia. She was a great race mare, made $245,000. So this one to me, it looks like Team Wren could have got a bargain here, $7,500, first full again, or second full rather, but a JK end of an era filly, Jacob.
Yeah, I completely agree. That's something we kind of saw with the leader classes that last year. It was really nice pedigrees, or maybe they didn't bring exactly what we thought they would have to say last year. But yeah, the mare was great. Vancouver scored nearly $250,000 after that. Won the Madison County Stakes right here at Leader Park at 2. Took the mark 153 and 2. One of those mares was really good at 2. Maybe didn't advance very well at 3 and 4. But now she's starting to throw her first full. We haven't seen her first full Image of an Era. He's been racing here at Leader Park and now winning one of the players.
We talked a little bit about JK End of an Era. I know another horse I know that we're going to talk about here in just a little bit. That's Sweet Lou. He's the sire of the 2. Here's a homebred for our home team, colt rather, by Rockin' Image out of Rockin' Hot Lady, who we raced. A nice colt that finished 4th last week. I know we're looking for, like Ron was talking about, a little more aggressive start here tonight, but or today rather. I've got to get out of the today versus tonight. But again, another by Sweet Lou, PA bred here, Jacob.
He was such an incredible horse. Won the Breeders' Crown at 149 flat at 2. Sustained that pace over here at 5. Did you kind of expect what you got from him as a stallion? Out of it, he's sired by Ancient Breed, or maybe not the pedigree you expect for a top stallion, but he's really proven to be really phenomenal.
Yeah, but he's a good outcross sire. Same at Some Beach Somewhere. You get all the better mares because they can be bred to him. It's funny. My best 2-year-old is a Sweet Lou out of a Rockin' Image mare that we actually bought here, Rockin' Good. That is a good family.
Good family, Rock Me
and
Good.
She is. I mean, he qualified first start 56, 26 and 3 at the Meadows under wraps, 55 and 3 actually, and it's the same bred as your 2-year-old. The 2 here, and he crosses to everything so well, and they've become even better every year. It just seems like the train gets going. He gets better mares. His stud feed has went up, so he gets better mares because, people are spending bigger money, so they're sending their better mares. So its success feeds on itself. But he, he's a great sire. He can sire you a filly or a colt. He had the 2 best pacing fillies last year. As 2-year-olds, he had the best 3-year-old colt last year. So, it doesn't matter. It doesn't really seem like he has a hole in his game.
I was looking to Bob. I thought he might have a Sweet Lou. What? Yeah, we got time for a question. Love this question. So last time we haven't seen Ron Burke as the leading trainer was 0708, and that was by the great Mickey Burke. Talk to us a little bit about the influence your dad had on your operation.
Yeah, it's funny. Like as an influence as a trainer, we learned a lot from him, and we learned everything, but more we learned to do it the right way. That was the biggest thing. And and the confidence, like that was the thing. He gave us confidence when, no matter how bad things were get or how bad things, I tend to panic and like, the ship is sinking. And he'd be like, shut up, we'll win our races. Do not worry about it. So, he's a great trainer, better father.
Love it. Love it. Great question. And like we said, what an influence and what a career for him and what a wonderful job you're doing following in his footsteps. Again, getting ready for the fourth. We talked a little bit. Jacob, any other comments here as we head into the fourth race with field of 7?
Yeah, the middle two here, we got 4 3-year-olds in here. The outside 3 are 3-year-olds making their first qualifiers. Well, 2 of the 3, but go to number 3, Valley Star, the dam's full sister to Candy's Virgin. Candy's Virgin was kind of a victim of the stablemate colors. The Virgin had the race against her those years. Candy's Virgin made over 333,000. Then number 4 out of the second drop of Freaky Pete, he's a hot rodding. The dam is a full sister to the great. She's a hot mark, one of my favorite Indiana mares of all time out of that Don Ashmark mare. Made over $280,000. A good pedigree on me, hot rodding out of that second drop of Freaky Pete.
That's Indiana through and through. That's Indiana blood through and through. You got Freaky Feet Pete, who was Indiana born, bred, raised, and Mark Jonathan, much the same. So Indiana through and through. Again, a field of 7. We'll send it up to Michael Chamberlain for the call.
Just to give you the photo in the first qualifier that ended 3-7-2, Lady McKenna first, Aiming at Glory second, Son of Era third. As the field for the fourth qualifier now comes down, Rookie J will be driven by Marvin Luna. They are off. Sharp start for Captain Candyman, and Captain Candyman goes right out to take the lead. Imperial Lou is next. Dry Creek Princess moves up on the outside third. In Era's Image is inside fourth. Then it's Valley Star. He's a hot roddin', is racing sixth. And the early trailer going on to the first turn is Rookie J. As they approach the quarter mile, it is Captain Candyman, through a quarter of 29-3. Captain Candyman, the leader. Second and getting closer is Imperial Lou. And then next is In Era's Image third. Dry Creek Princess is fourth. After that is Valley Star. The trailing 2 are He's a Hot Roddin' and Rookie J, as they are just outside the half. And now to the outside goes Imperial Lou, trying to get past Captain Candyman and couldn't do it. Captain Candyman turns away the challenge for the moment. Imperial Lou has to tuck back in second. The half up in 59-4. The second quarter was 30-1. So Captain Candyman defending this lead staunchly. Moving second is Imperial Lou. Now 3 lengths back to third, and Dry Creek Princess takes that position from In Era's Image. It's a 7-length break back to Valley Star as they now arrive at the top of the stretch. Captain Candyman is in front with 3/4 up in 1:28. Captain Candyman 2 lengths in front. Next on the outside, Dry Creek Princess. Imperial Lou is third. Coming to the final 1/8 of a mile, Captain Candyman has been in front every step of the way. And now on the outside, Dry Creek Princess trying to challenge that. But it is still Captain Candyman. And Captain Candyman goes all the way in front to win. Dry Creek Princess second, Imperial Lou third, then In Era's Image, 1:55-4.
55-4 there for the 3-year-old Rookie J and Dry Creek Princess. Again, nice mile there, Jacob, the 2 3-year-olds and the 2-year-old Imperial Lou, a decent second place finish. Talking a little bit off camera there, it is sometimes a little tough racing 2-year-olds against 3-year-olds.
Yeah, even with 3-year-olds making their first qualifier, I mean, they're just more mature, more ready to go at this stage in the game. So kudos to the 2-year-olds that could kind of hang with there. Really impressive mile there by Imperial Lou, the well-bred son of Sweet Lou there.
Yeah, big back half there, 59-4, 55-4, so a decent back half there. Going to take a little bit of a break here so horses can get warmed up, so we're going to have a little bit of time to talk again to trainer Ron Burke, of course, about his operation, baby season, and, of course, any questions that Bob or anyone else may have. We were talking a little bit. Jacob, I'll let you go because I feel like I'm hogging all the questions, so go ahead. If you got any questions or where you want to start, we'll jump right back in.
Yeah, you kind of talk about how you go to the Hoosier Classic with a list of 20 that you kind of have your sights set on. How much does it influence you, or does it influence you? If you've had like a really good sibling to these yearlings, do you pay attention to that? I know some people like to stick to one family and kind of roll with it. Some feel like you're really just going to get one really good one out of that mare and kind of go elsewhere. How do you feel about that?
I'm all for looking at brothers and sisters, but the thing is, I'll never take the slighter version. You know,
Okay.
if I bought an A and then I go to look at the next baby and it's a B, I'm not buying that baby. Why step backwards? Because one, if you've done well and you're looking to pay, you're going to have to pay more for that baby. Now you're going to pay more for the lesser version. So I at least want to see it be as good, if not better, when I look at it. So that's important for me. But like I like families. We tend to do good with certain families and we tend to do bad with certain families. Well, I'm not going to keep like going back
to the well, right?
of ones that were doing bad, especially certain sires. Certain sires don't fit me. I know they don't like what we do and I don't like what they do, so I move on from them. It's better to do what, suits you. So that, I'm a little bit different that way.
Bob, you had a question there. Great question also. Take us back to Mission Brief. What would she have been like if she raced at 4, 5, and 6?
Mission Brief is the best horse I've ever sat behind, bar none.
That's
It's
incredible.
not even
Taylor,
close.
make sure we get that on quote. Mission Brief, best horse he's ever sat behind.
And I tell people like, I don't at all waver on that. She could do things that no other horse could do. I trained her as a 2-year-old. She could train with my age pacers and she could go with them. I mean, the 50 mile at Lexington in, under wraps in a windstorm, like it, I honestly believe she would change the game if we would have stayed sound at 4. And I still think she will throw a horse that will change the game. The thing is, I have not yet seen one that resembles her. When I see the one that looks like her, not like the sire, I would go all out on it because, you're going to pay a top dollar for her. People know what a kind of horse she was, but it really, to me, best horse I ever sat behind, hands down.
Love it. A great question as we talk about the North America Cup, and Bob asking Ronnie to take us back to the night of Sweet Lou North America Cup. The anticipation obviously had a great 2-year-old campaign. The anticipation going into the NA Cup, but it's early.
Yeah, but to be honest, some of the dumbest stuff I did was with Lou as the 3-year-old. Like we pushed him too hard, and times I overtrained him at times. Like it took me till the end of the year to figure out what I was doing with him. And as a 4-year-old, I rebuilt the, mess that I had made. And then as a 5-year-old, he was the horse he was. Like that's the thing is you learn as you go, at least you hope you do. And maybe I got caught up off that 2-year-old mile was one of the greatest miles I ever saw. It was in a snowstorm in Canada. It was a world record. And I thought maybe like all I had to do was just keep pushing him and we could go even faster and we could do more. And maybe I was a little too tough on him, So, you learn as you go, even I would have had him raced different. A lot of things, we raced his heart out in the elimination. Then we came back and tried to do the same thing in the final. These things aren't machines. You can't just keep pushing the gas. And, like I said, loose babies get a better trainer because I figured it out with Lou and I was doing
like
dumb
parenting,
stuff.
right? Like that's what they say. You've got to break generational curses, right? You out-parent your parents. So you got to love that. That's a great, great comment. And a question, yes.
I think as much as anything, one, that the total reliance on catch drivers. Catch drivers are going to get horses down to the half and faster. When trainers drove their horses, they were a little bit more to take care of them. So you got to a half slower. Honestly, how are you going to go a mile and 48 if you get to half and 58? But if you get to the half and 53, it's not that hard. It only need another half and 55. 2, with the hub rail gone, we're closer to the rail. So we get further closer to the rail. The bikes, we're slanting them to move them even closer to the rail, so now you're picking up ground there. And, people are now scientifically training. Like 10 years ago, we were walking horses in the sun after they raced and withholding water. It's the dumbest thing in the world when you think of it. Would you ever see a human go out, run a mile, put a heavy jacket on and go out and walk in the 90-degree heat and us say no water? But it was a thing that we did because the people in front of us did it. And then the Olympics came out with a study and said it was dumb. And believe me, the first time I told my dad we're going to quit walking these things after
Yes.
we're putting them straight in the stall and putting fans on them, he's like, you've lost your mind. And I was like, Dad, would you go out and run and put a jacket on and then let's withhold water for you for 3 hours and see how, so I think the trainers and the drivers have gotten better in the sport. I mean, there was a time a guy like me, a size of me, could drive a horse. No shot. I'm giving up 100 pounds to them guys.
Yeah.
It's a different, you look at these guys in the locker room now, they're just big jockeys is all they are. They're thinner, they're stronger, they're more aggressive. That's what's changed the game more than anything.
Yeah, and I would just to comment on that. I know you were asking Ronnie the question, but I also had a little bit of a point in the fact that I think a lot of times now we're breeding for speed too, right? Like where as before there were certain sires you just like you were talking about, the physicalities of them. There were some sires that just weren't 2-year-old sires, right? But we still bred to them because they made great racehorses, and maybe they didn't make great 2-year-olds, but they made great racehorses. But today in today's world, I think we're almost breeding for that speed, for that 2-year-old. Everybody wants a great 2-year-old, right? And nobody wants to wait on them anymore, is what it seems. So it's a little bit, I would say, breeding for speed as well versus longevity.
Without a doubt, because like anymore, like if you're not a good 2 or 3-year-old mare, nobody wants you.
Yeah.
And if you're like a great 6 or 7-year-old sire, good for you. We're not going to breed to you because, that's one of Lou's greatest attributes, that he was great at 2 and great at 5. But the fact that people like was he was great at 2. That's where the money is. You'd like to change the sport and put more of the money late, but the truth is the economics of it.
Right.
When people are buying these things and, you're 150,000 in as a 2-year-old, you need to get it back now, not next year, not especially 3 years from now.
Well, I do want to touch on that too regarding the breeding in this state. You've been in Indiana for the last 20 years or so, and we've come a long way from Don't Get in My Way, Mark Jonathan, who we touched on, to the fact that we now have Telt Like It Is in JK and Onera. Just how much better have these Indiana horses gotten in your time here?
Oh, it's incredibly. And I mean, a lot of it is, give credit to the Amish. The Amish have, supported the sport, and they've went out and got, top mares and brought better mares. That's where it's probably more than anything. The mares that you guys used to breed here would have never got bred in any other state, maybe except Ohio. And now you have as good as mares as anywhere. Like, people are breeding good mares. And it really, listen, the sire is so important, but not as important as the mare. I don't care how great a sire is. You breed bad mares to great sire, you will get bad horses.
And talking a little bit about the mares, Ronnie, when you're looking at, say, a pedigree page, you've got, you talk about the mares bred and things like that. Everybody seems to kind of have their, we'll call it formula, right? If it's the first foal, but she raced, she didn't race, or she's a sister to somebody. Talk to us a little bit about, what you're looking for. And I know you touched on it a little bit, obviously, if you had success with the family, but you've got a few in today, specifically, out of a well-said mare. You've obviously had all kinds of success with well-said mares, a Southwind Frank mare and the likes. But talk to us a little bit about what you're looking for on that mare side, for those breeders and things like that.
Well, the well-said mare, this one's out of it, is full sister is the dam of Lou Pearlman and my girl EJ. So it's one of the better families in the game, and it's she was the brood mare of the year last year, Lucy's Pearl. So this is our first year actually, and it was funny. We did an analytical approach this year. We assigned a number to every factor, as much to even trainer upgrade, trainer downgrade, to everything that you can put a factor on. Size, program, farm that they were raised at, and then every horse got a score. And our idea was that we would, rank them, and then by value, we should get the best horses per value. So, we put a lot of work in it, a lot of time, especially Mark Weaver, Joe Corey, they, were doing the math, Dr. J with supplying a lot of the, the information that goes into it. And, it was fun doing it. And I remember when one of our other owners was listening to me and Mark and Joe argue over point ones and stuff. And he says, I can't wait in 2 years when we're driving down the road and you guys go, this is the dumbest thing we ever did. But it's so far, it seems like it's worked. And, the horses that we ranked high, have trained down good. And, it's worked in every other sport. So why shouldn't it work here? So we're going to try to take an analytical approach for it for the next couple of years. And then if not, we'll just go back to shooting fish in a barrel.
Great. I'll get to you just a second, Bob, but that's a great point because I can remember my dad talking about Billy Houghton's yearling book. And one year he had gone out and like forgot it at the bar or something. And he said he thought the world was going to end. So I'm telling you that maybe you guys should hold on to that. You can sell it down the road. Pedigree nerds like Jacob and myself would probably buy it. You know, you got all those crazy books, but great point there. Bob, your point to that. Okay, great question. Your success with Buckeye St. Pat the Great, did that help you with your training of Hannelore Hanover? And do you feel like it influenced that?
For sure it is. Like the more good horses you get, the better horse trainer you become. It's one of the things that I think has helped me tremendously. Like if I'm training 400 horses a year, that's 400 times I can screw up a year more than anybody else can, so like I'm not dumb when I do things that don't work. I'm the first one to admit it. That's why I go back to, I said, like one time I trained Lou as a 3-year-old in 48. It was cool. It was fun. Then afterwards I thought, yeah, that didn't work, so let's stop that. We'll quit doing things like that. So you got to learn as you go. Buckeye was a great horse. I always say Buckeye was the kind of horse when she was at her best, it didn't matter about trip. It didn't matter about anything. She was the best horse on the racetrack, and that passed on to Hannelore, that passed on to MM. And I think we're forgetting one too, because I've had 4 great trotting mares. And I know maybe I'm thinking it's
Atlanta.
That's the other one. I'm thinking, I know I've had 4 top age trotting mares. And I'm like, that's a shame I'm forgetting her, because she was the same way. Atlanta at her best was better than anybody.
That Hambletonian, I mean, like that's one of those races that I won't soon forget now. I mean, there were just so many of her races. I can remember so vividly her trotting down that stretch.
I want to go back to Hannelore Hanover, though. She was a little bit of a late bloomer, just 2 starts at 2, then came back at 3. But you could kind of see it with every start she made at 3. She was getting better and better. And then she just turned into a monster kind of the second half of her 3-year-old year and into her age career, obviously. Kind of when did you know you had something really special there?
When she finally passed Air Zoom Lindy. It took us like 6 starts. And when she got by her, I was like, this horse is a real horse. Being honest, Ricky and Jamie get all the credit in the world for Hannelore. That's when Jamie was running our barn here. They had the patience, they had the, to let her sit in the back and come flying. And every week, Ricky went from being 8th, then he was 6th, then he was 4th. And then, when he was 2nd or on the lead, she was unbeatable.
Yeah.
And he did an incredible job, and then Yannick took over at 4. But by then she was push button. She had been taught everything she needed to know. And really, Ricky and Jamie is an unbelievable horsewoman. Like, people don't understand the time she puts in. And it was one of the toughest things when we lost her here, to figure out for a couple of years how to get back to where we were, and actually now her brother runs my barn here, and that, it's the best we've had since her.
That's wonderful. Wonderful. Yes, Bob.
I think because Ronnie was kind. He knew the horse was going to give you, everything that he could. And at that point in his career, he didn't want to be abused. He didn't want to be, roughed up. And Ronnie was different. Like, I mean, he was a different cat. Like, one of my best stories is we came here to race Lou once, and he raced Cam Fascon in the Haskin. Ronnie said, they're letting us go real early here. And I said, what are you talking about? He said, they're letting us go real early. I go, you do know this is a 7/8 mile track. He goes, good thing to find that out. And I was like, and I'm thinking the guy thought it was a mile track and they were just letting him go early. So, and
always good to touch base before the race.
I wasn't sure if he was kidding, but I don't think he was.
It would not surprise me any.
So he was a different cat.
He was, and just another Ron Pierce story. I have all the respect for him in the world. He was my first interview, young intern working for the Horseman and Fair World, and they got me good, sending me to interview Ron Pierce for my very first time. So, like you said, a wonderful. I have all the respect for him in the world, but that was an interesting first interview. Certainly got me broken. We're getting ready for the 5th race here, and we were talking a little bit about this horse. This is a 2-year-old colt from Team Burke. Swan for All colts out of the Southern Lily mare at Southwind Frank, who of course you know all about. But we were talking about this colt, and you said, he's not a black Swan for All, he's a bay Swan for All, and that's where you think you got the deal. But talk to us a little bit about what what you saw in this colt and what you liked particularly with him.
He was, he's a pretty plain looking colt, but so was Frank. And a lot of like Frank, he trained down like, he's all right.
Yeah.
He's pretty good. And then when he came here, I called him one day and said, hey, how'd that trotting colt train? He said, I trained him in 2-2, last score in 27 flat. And I said, really? I didn't know he had that high end speed. And I think we're going to see that he's way better than we thought. He's going to be one of the ones that's a pleasant surprise. He always was perfect mannered, perfect gated, but I didn't know if he had top speed. I'd like to follow somebody here, but that's the problem now. I think you're going to look for most of these are going to look to him cut the mile because he shows already 2 minutes. The fact that he pulled Trace off an Irv horse, that, means to me that Trace liked him because, it's pretty hard to get Trace off an Irv horse.
Yeah, very much so. And Jacob, just talking a little bit about him, he was one of those colts, just exactly like Ronnie said, maybe, not a big flashy colt, but certainly looked the part last week.
Well, it's been interesting, too, at the sales last year. We've had quite a few new trotting stallions coming in, and maybe it's taken a little bit of the shine away from Swan for All. His Help Is on the Way got off to a really nice start. We saw You Do Sweep Sire Stakes earlier this week, but I think maybe people have gone away a little bit from Swan for All, but he's still throwing them just as good as he has been his entire life.
Yeah, very much so. And another one in here that is by the great Swan for All, that's the 7 Swan King. We were talking about first foals. This one, a first foal from a Guccio mare. Made it just under 200,000, but she's got some pedigree behind her. And again, another one by Swan for All, but it looks like he is a dark Swan for All.
Yeah, and Gucci was one of those where he either threw a really good one or a not so great one, but she was a really good one, made nearly 200,000, as you mentioned, took a mark of 54 and actually won the bucket at the the Delaware County Fairgrounds. So she's got a Grand Circuit pedigree and first full, lot to like here for the Doug Rideout barn, who gets along so well with these Swan for Alls.
We said we saw Starlit Frankenstein last week. We also saw Swan Bon Jovi. Here's a 2-year-old, another by Swan for All. This one, brother to the great Swandre the Giant. He was a $65,000 yearling purchase and looked like he did everything right last week. Jacob, maybe just one of those kind of first-time qualifiers. Obviously, I believe his connection's probably looking for a little more here today.
Yeah, it was kind of getting home. Got home in 31 and change. Maybe that first time just going these speeds, trying to figure out how to get it home at the finish of the mile. But Ron, you actually had Swandre the Giant for a little bit, won some stakes races at the Meadowlands with him. What did you kind of remember? What kind of stood out to you when you got him in your barn, and how was he as a racehorse?
Great little horse, and tried his heart out. And 2 great names back to back, Swandre the Giant and Swan Bon Jovi.
Shout out to Stacy Ruddick.
If nothing else, they got the naming game down tight. That's great.
Very much so. Like we said, always fun to have those names. And Michael Chamberlain, I know, could probably have a little fun with that one. So hopefully we'll see him at the races. Speaking of Michael Chamberlain, the horses are lined up behind the gate. And before we send it up to him, Ronnie, they do this with the 2-year-olds. They let him go out a little sooner. Talk to us a little bit about gate schooling for your crew. When does it start? How often do you do it? And what's that protocol look like?
I never school.
Okay.
They pick them up here plenty of time. Figure it gives them longer time to learn bad
Freak
habits.
out.
Most of these horses have now grown up being on the wheel on the machine. They're used to gates being in front of them. Nah, they're good. They'll figure it out.
Good to hear. Good to hear. All right, the horses are turning in for the 5th race. We'll send it up to Michael Chamberlain for the call.
Thank you, Emily. The driver change on the 1 Tarzan will be Atlee Bender. Atlee Bender driving number 1 Tarzan here for the 5th qualifier this morning. A field of 7 getting lined up. And here they come. They are off. Good beginning for Starlit Frankenstein on the outside. Swan Bon Jovi is to the inside then. Swanky Yankee next third with Serenadum fourth. After that is Tarzan in a gap of about 5 back to Swan Shores and another 6 off to Swan King, who is the trailer. And Starlit Frankenstein leads the way around the first turn, just over a length in front of Swan Bon Jovi. Opening quarter was 30 seconds. Next in third is Swanky Yankee, then a 6-length break back to Serenadum and Tarzan in 5th, and 5 more to Swan Shores and Swan King. Starlit Frankenstein starting to open up this lead a little bit. It's now out to 3.5. After that is Swan Bon Jovi and Swanky Yankee third. Now 8 off is Serenadum and then Tarzan, and another 8 lengths back to the last two, Swan Shores and Swan King. That half was 59-4, second quarter 29-4. Picked up a tick there as they move now onto the second turn. And Starlit Frankenstein has opened up a 6-length edge. Starlit Frankenstein is moving very nicely here as they go around the second turn. Second is Swan Bon Jovi, and Swanky Yankee is third. Another 7 back to Tarzan and then Serenadum, and well back to Swan King and Swan Shores. A very spread out bunch as they now arrive at the top of the stretch with 3/4 up in 129-3. And it is Starlit Frankenstein and Trace Tetrick in front now by 10. Next is Swan Bon Jovi as they come to the final eighth of a mile, or I should say, as Starlit Frankenstein comes to the final eighth of a mile. Starlit Frankenstein is in front by a dozen. Starlit Frankenstein is gone. Goodbye. I think there's a very happy man down on the Breakfast at the Hop area. 1:58-1 the time. Second was Tarzan, then Swanky Yankee, and Swan Bon Jovi.
Starlit Frankenstein as delivered, 1:58-1. Ronnie, we talked a little bit about it. Obviously wanted to see him just take a step forward, but talk to us a little bit about what you saw there.
Yeah, no, you couldn't ask for anything more. Trace is being kind to him and just letting him do his thing. I looking to see if he was calling on him at all. And he right here, if anything, he was grabbing him up. So, that's exactly what you want the second start to be that sharp. I need to get him in with a little bit better horses, or not even better, probably more advanced horses so he can follow. But, he's trained all the way down in sets of 6 and 7. I know that he'll follow. He's not a hot horse. And, it's a very good thing. A couple of the other ones here trot nice. They look good. They're probably just not quite up to the same thing. Ours have been this colt trained 4 times on a bike before he ever came to the qualifier. So obviously he's more advanced at this stage than they are. But, the Swandre, the Giant, the colt, they're all good looking. They trot nice. That's the whole thing with trotters. You want the gait to be there. They'll find speed, most of them, as they get going.
And you talked about training 4 times in the bike. Talk to us a little bit about what, we talked about gait schooling, your protocol. Does it vary based on the horses, or, a lot of folks it's 2-3 qualifiers and then Indigo, or do you base it off of each individual horse, or, kind of what that program looks like?
I'm usually 2 qualifiers, but I have a filly at the Meadows that qualified good her first start. And they were looking for a maiden, and I'm thinking, we're going to go the same speed in the maiden as we are in the qualifier, and I might as well get paid for it. So we put her in, and 2 qualifiers I like. If I'm 3 or 4, it's because they're not improving as much as I hope, and I'm looking to, not put them in a spot where they get blitzed. So, but 2 qualifiers to me is good.
And Jacob, I think we got your mic back working, right? You're good to go there. We talked a little bit about that. It varies from time to time, but from a handicapping perspective, I know 1-2 qualifiers is always nice. It's those 1 qualifiers where you don't really know what to expect dropping right into the box for the first time.
Well, and I think that's always the thing on the handicapping perspective is you just want to see improvement, right? I think we saw that with Starlit Frankenstein here. 2 minutes comfortably, drops down to 58, that very comfortably. You feel like he can take another step forward. He looks like he has another gear to go forward. Do kind of want to ask you, Ron, you mentioned that he trained down, Adam Rucker mentioned that he trained down in 202 the other day. What are you looking for as a threshold before you drop one into qualify?
A trotter's probably at least 2-2, maybe 2-3. Pacers, they're going to have to beat 2 minutes unless they just can't. Like they're just not that good of trainers and they won't do it. But, the Pacers, a lot of them will train 57, 58. So, the one thing I don't want to get in with somebody that's going a big mile and get my horse's heart ripped out. I want them to be able to, go with anybody. And, sometimes I'll miss the first week because some people are going to be a little bit more aggressive in the first week than I want to, and then I'll go. But they race pretty conservative here. They do it the right way here. People develop horses here. You see horses leave here all the time. They go on, and they are great race horses all around the country. It's because they do it the right way when they're young. They go first quarter's decent. They rest second and third, and they sprint home. That becomes a habit. Horses learn to, finish. Horses learn not to finish. Like here, you have to learn to finish or you will not get any money.
Yes.
You must have missed the What the Hill thing when I launched the Hambo and they took
We
me
should have
back
had
to
a
10.
camera.
Yeah, they wasn't as good as gracious. You know what? When I was young, I was jump off the cliff and jump to the moon after every race. I've realized, I'm 54 now, like it's not the end of the world, and I've done well enough that too, when you're racing to pay the bill every month with like every race
Right.
is so that you can eat. It is way
Way.
more fun and way more hard. Like the wins are better, the losses are worse. Now it's a little bit to what our sport has lost. We're so busy, all of us, you don't celebrate the wins as much as you should.
Right.
We're into a plane, off to the next spot, onto the next race. That's, it's great for making money, but like when I went to New Zealand, the one thing I found there, I thought it was more of a sport.
Yeah.
And after the races, we all hung out together and I missed that.
Savored it, right?
I thought it was, even when we first came here to Indiana, like we always went out after every night of racing and just enjoyed each other and thing. And now everybody's so tired because you have, you're racing so many places. You're so many, last night the race ended here and I couldn't wait to get to bed because I knew I had to get up and train today. And then I'm going to, do qualifiers. And then I'm going to be at Scioto tomorrow, tonight, and I have horses in Canada that I need to watch, and it's the thing is, there were stake races here last night. There were stake races at the Meadowlands, and I had stake races Saturday. I can't be everywhere, so you end up missing a lot of great races. And our sport's good on TV. Our sport live is the best.
Yeah.
If you like it on TV, come out and watch it because it is so much better live.
Yeah, very much so. And you're talking a little about that. I was watching an interview with Todd Pletcher, and he said, talking a little bit about the, kind of the pomp and circumstance. And he's like, these people are paying for the experience too, right? Everybody wants the great 2-year-old or wants the great 3-year-old, but you're also paying for the experience as well, to come out, enjoy your horse. Like you said, there's nothing better than coming to the track live and watching your horse win a race.
And I tell people all the time, there's a fair that's about an hour from here called the Dark County Fair in Greenville, Ohio. Go there. Go there one time at night. There's 10,000 people around the fence, screaming for the horses. You will appreciate harness racing so much more. Like the whole foiled experience, that was probably what made me appreciate racing way more. Like we would show up and there'd be 1,000 people to see the horse just stand there in the paddock, and that's the thing is we got to remember we're not the stars. The drivers are not the stars. The horses are the stars of this sport. And that's the thing we got to, people, I can disappoint you. A driver can disappoint you. Horses don't disappoint you. Things go bad. Things have tough trips. They give all they can, appreciate the horses for what they are. And the horses should be the star of the sport.
Yes. Great point.
Number one, if I'm never using a driver that's worried about the next race, if I feel that he's not into my race or not worried about my horse, he's not driving for me. When I have to start telling drivers how to drive, I'll get another driver. Number two, though, I do think sometimes you do need to give them their tendencies or what you're looking to accomplish. Most of the time, Yannick will tell you, I don't say anything before the race. I don't say anything after. That's the one owner that I have to break of when owners come to me. Did you talk to the driver? I watched the race. I don't need to be told what I saw. Yannick will tell you, like, I don't say good or I don't say bad. He said he's told other drivers, if you're waiting for Ronnie to call and say good job, you're not going to get it.
You're waiting a while.
But you're also not going to get 2 seconds after. Why did you do that? I know why it happened. I know there's a difference between a bad drive and a bad trip. Sometimes you made the right move, but somebody else made the wrong move and it made your move wrong. So I understand it. I drove 1,000 races, so I have enough experience to understand and I also realized how hard that job was. And as much as I took the races bad as a trainer, there is nothing worse when you're coming down this stretch,
And your
and
horses.
you know you were the reason the horse lost, that you caused it, you know. And that's what I mean. I don't have to tell Yannick. He knows when he drove bad, you know. So what, me berating him is going to make it go away? No, it's going to make him feel worse, you know. So if you feel like your driver is not giving you the attention, there's plenty of these guys. Move down the next guy. There's plenty of anymore. I always say this now, most of these tracks, if you get a bad driver, it's because you wanted one. Because there's enough good guys, you know, Marvin Luna here now, Devin, you know, you got young kids that can drive horses, that are willing and will give you every effort if you give them a chance, you know, to.
Great point there, talking about drivers and the likes. We'll talk about that right after this race. We've got the 6th race coming up with 2-year-olds, full of 2-year-olds. Ronnie, you've got a 2-year-old filly in here, again by JK, a $30,000 yearling purchase from the Victory Hill barn. Really solid effort from this filly in her first out, 2 minutes and 2/5. Talk to us a little bit about her.
She's a nice filly. Actually was a little bit better than I thought. You know, the one that was more impressed of actually was Jamie's colt, this Big Bad Moses. Good looking horse. He's a little bit funny. He pulls up on the lead, but I think, you know, if he follows us in here, I hope he doesn't, because I got a feeling he'd go right by us.
There was one we were talking about last night, Jacob. That's the 8 Packs a Million here for Brittany Dillon. Here's another colt by Sweet Lou. This one, though, out of a sister to handle this one, making this one a sister to Handle Like a Porsche.
Yeah, Handle Like a Porsche was a really solid 2-year-old for trainer Chris Ryder. Made over $300,000 and took a mark of 50-1. Love the pedigree on the 8.
Yeah, and second dam there's Vegas Vacation and the likes, Not Ready to Be Nice. So again, nice fields. We'll send it up to Michael Chamberlain for the call.
And the field is on gate. They are off. Moving away well, Big Bad Moses in the center. JK Summer Express into second, and Odds On Anubis is next in third. Then it's Tarshish with a crazy party boy at the inside fifth. Next is Brandon's Gal. And on the outside are Cax the Boss and Pax a Million. Moving around that turn, and JK Summer Express now has taken the lead with the quarter up in 29-3. JK Summer Express, then Big Bad Moses is sitting in second. After that, third, Odds On Anubis. Tarshish is next in fourth, a length and a half back to Crazen Party Boy. Sixth is Brandon's Gal, followed by Cax the Boss, and Pax a Million trails the field as they now approach the half mile. JK Summer Express still the leader, and still second is Big Bad Moses. That half was 59-3. That second quarter was 30 seconds. Racing in third is Odds On Anubis. Tarshish is next fourth. Then comes Crazen Party Boy with Brandon's Gal sixth. Cax the Boss is seventh, and Pax a Million is the trailer. Midway around that second turn, JK Summer Express still up top, and Big Bad Moses is second. Then comes Odds On Anubis as they post 3/4 of a mile in 1:29-4. 30 1/3 quarter, and off stride went JK Summer Express right at the top of the stretch. JK Summer Express went off stride at the top of the stretch. That gives the lead to Big Bad Moses, and trying to rally through, here comes Odds On Anubis. Also moving up is Tarshish in between horses, and Tarshish is closing well with Odds On Anubis. These two are going to settle it. Odds On Anubis and Tarshish, as they come to the finish, it is Odds On Anubis who holds on to defeat Tarshish. Then Big Bad Moses, close for fourth there with Cax the Boss and Pax a Million, 157-1.
157-1 for Odds On Anubis. Jacob, this is an Odds On Aquilius, homebred for Team Wren here.
Yeah, 7-foal from the mare. She's a half-sister to Odds On Cheddar, who made nearly $200,000. So good pedigree on this one. Good mile after things got a little chaotic at the top of the stretch, but they got up the inside of Big Bad Moses there and really got home well in that mile.
We were talking a little bit off air there, Ron. Philly made a break coming around the final turn. I asked if it was a shadow, but you said looked like she probably needed her hobbles up. You mentioned that.
Yeah, when we were warming her up, I said, Adam, if she puts, last week she almost ran mid-stretch, and we attributed it to her running out. And we changed her rigging that way. And I was like, if she gets steppy again today, let's go up on the hobbles. So I just think, even they're coming back here, they're a little bit floppy. She can wear them up, maybe even go head up a notch. So that doesn't bother me. Horses making a break like that, that's just a speed break. We'll get that ironed out before She just earned herself a third qualifier, though.
Earned herself a third qualifier. You were talking a little bit about drivers and, not talking to them, but we talked about making adjustments. And you mentioned this, having good help is so important. And I know you've got a great assistant there in Adam Rucker, but talk to us a little bit about what that's like. Obviously you making a point to come over here, sit behind these horses. You do all the heavy lifting in the winter, but then, they're kind of like kids. You send them off to their respective schools and away they go. But talk to us a little bit about what that process is like, how often you like to sit behind him, who you're relying on as far as equipment and adjustments that need to be made.
Yeah, I mean, like I've gotten better at watching them on TV and knowing what they needed, but like they've got to tell me.
Do you have DVR? Do you like run it back? Like
I will not watch I will not watch a replay.
Okay.
I watch it once. I don't have time. Mark gets mad at me for that too. He's, can't you watch a replay? I'm like, no. So he definitely Adam does a good job communicating what he thinks is going on, and basically this is the toughest state for me to get to. There's no flying here.
Right.
It's a 5-hour drive. So, when I have an opportunity, like I'm in Ohio, then it's not that bad. So I just come across, and I was in Ohio yesterday. I'm here, then I'll be back in Ohio tonight and then back in PA. So, I tend to spend more time on the East Coast, but, as the game moves more and more to the Midwest, I've got a barn in Lexington. I got a barn in, Oak Grove this year, first time. I spend more of my time. I actually bought a home in Lexington now because I realized that I'm going to be there a lot more. And actually I love it there too. So, it was that I did not mind.
Interesting. Very interesting. Yes, Bob. I love it. What did you see in the 17 or 18-year-old Matt Kikali that you thought, hey, this guy could drive for me?
Actually, my dad. That was all my dad. He went to Pompano, said there's a kid here that looks great in the bike. They said he needs an opportunity. He went to Matt and said, hey, would you like to come drive for us in Ohio? And he said, I'll be there in a week. And we didn't think he would actually show up. And he showed up. And I remember it was like second or third week, he got parked in the invite and won. And I thought, we can teach him not to get parked. We cannot teach him what he just did to keep that horse going. Kind,
great point.
Great with his hands, probably one of the very underrated as a developer of babies, somewhat, we got away from Matt in the last couple of years, and just, I think he needed a new experience and we needed it. But one thing where we miss him is like developing babies. He does an unbelievable job, very kind with horses, knows, how to teach them the right way. And, I think now too, he's even become more aggressive, which is what I was looking for him to become, where he will, dictate to others what they do in a race, where, that was the one thing I thought maybe sometimes that he let other drivers dictate to him what he was going to do. And I think he's grown out of it. Now I think he's wonderful. You can use him in any race and be fine.
Beautiful. Jacob, any comment there or any question there as far as?
Yeah, I want to touch on Trace Dietrich. He's obviously been really good here, the leading driver for the last decade straight, all-time leading driver here. He does a really nice job on these baby races. You've got him up on all of your 2-year-olds this morning. What do you like most about the way Trace guides these 2-year-olds in these first baby races?
Trace has great hands, obviously. You can see he's never out of control. And that's a lot with the babies. You're just looking for a steady experience. And, Trace is a horseman. He grew up doing this. And, his brother, I always say, will go down in the end probably as the greatest guy to ever sit behind a horse. When you look at Timmy's overall, record, it's incredible what he's done, and, actually it's mind boggling in some ways. So, I just like the fact that he gives you a consistent, good effort. And then when it's time to go for the big money, you're never afraid that if you have Trace, like he can take the pressure and he can put the horses in the right spot and he can make them go.
Very much so. And talking a little bit about drivers, Ronnie, so much you talk about Yannick and Dave Malone, Ricky McCumber, just the relationships that, you've created with some of these drivers. And you talked a little bit about that, not necessarily telling a driver how to drive and things like that. But obviously, first and foremost, you're looking for a good horseman and you've seemed to kind of develop those relationships. And that's, obviously helped quite a bit in your success.
Yeah, it's funny how you come across different drivers and you change and and that's the thing is, and it's hard that sometimes when you feel like you need to make a change, and I always say better 1 year too early than 1 year too late.
Yeah.
Because Father Time is undefeated and it will come for all of us. And Me and David Miller talk about it all the time. I've put him in a grave about 3 times and he's came back and made a liar out of me. And I'm like, David, one of these times I will be right about you and you will be all done. But, it don't seem like it is yet. But, I tell him 1 year, me and you will be sitting together and some young kid will be saying, those 2 clowns used to win races, so, it comes for everybody. I don't care who you are.
Very good. Yes, Bob. So what you were talking to the owners about purchasing him for the 4-year-old year, and what were you anticipating for him going forward?
Yeah, that was the Mark and Kevin Corey deal. They had, found the horse and got the deal done. And basically my whole part of the conversation was, what the hell, we make a 50 claimer, we'll be good. And the first time we trained him, we were like, he had the most funky shoes on. And I said, yank those off, put regular shoes on him. And we're like, either this horse is going to be way better, or we're going to be going back to those shoes and put him on. And he trained great. His first start, he got locked in, but he was really good. And then next start, he, was the first time. And then basically I just lost my mind with him. Every time the box opened, I threw the horse in. He raced 41 times or 42 times as a 4-year-old. Because I just thought, oh, this is a nice little horse, but look, he tries hard. I'll just keep stuffing him in and get all these open wins. And then, as a 5-year-old, we managed him a little bit better, and he was a little bit better. And then as a 6-year-old, he was even better. And then 7, 8, he was incredible. I mean, I've never seen a horse, the ability to take tough trips and forget about it. The minute he pulled up, he was over it and he was back on. Most horses, you get them parked every time and take a real beating. They remember for a little bit. Their feelings get
hurt,
but not him. He forgot, had the greatest ability to forgive and move on. And I always said, if he got to your bridle, you were done. He would lean on you till he would just beat horses he should never have beat. And he at first Won the West was his big thing. And then Mr. Big was his big thing. And then he went through 4 or 5 rivals and he just put them away, great horse. I don't know, it's going to be hard for any horse to do what he did, just because the ability to stay sound till 14 and, and race. And, there was so much money on the East Coast at that time, and he was, seemed to be always in the right spot in the right time.
I know it's kind of hard to choose with the horse that made over $7.5 million, but is there a race that just stands out as kind of the pinnacle foiled again race? I think of the Breeders' Crown at Pocono, where he's parked every step. Or is there one race for you?
The Breeders' Crown was incredible, because when they put him up, the cheer in the crowd, that was the first time that I thought, this is not just our horse, this is everybody's horse.
Yeah.
And then the other time, he won the Canadian Pacing Derby, and I was standing in Indiana Downs in the upstairs bar by myself, screaming at the TV.
That's awesome. That is so awesome. Yeah. And, you talked a little bit about Foiled Again, but I just felt mentioning, seeing the people that he brought out to the track, and just like that was, you talk about a career in marketing and things like that. That was one of those moments that, I just will never forget. Every time Foiled Again was at the track, the people that he brought to the track. And again, it just goes back to what you said, oftentimes it's easy for people to forget the stars of the sport are the horses, and he certainly embodied that. Speaking of the horses, we're getting ready for the 7th race. This is a trot. We've got a nice field of 7 set to go postward here, Jacob. We've got a few to talk about. The 6, Roan Dover, was a $16,000 yearling purchase for Team Rideout. This one, a Roan colt, so good-looking colt by Dover Dan, purchased down at Lexington, like I said, out of a nice Cantab Hall mare.
Yeah, half brother to Mallard Hanover, who we saw here at Hoosier Park. Irv Miller had him early in his 3-year-old campaign, won some of those early series, made nearly $50,000. I think he was cut short due to injury, but really, really nice horse there in Mallard Hanover. Like the pedigree.
The 7 is a help colt, and we talk about bargain purchases. This is one that I went back and looked and thought, what didn't we like about him? It just simply didn't look at him. Help is on the way colt out of an SJ's Caviar mare that was okay. She made $75,000. He's a second foal, but got some good pedigree behind him. House that Truth built, Glide Speed, Master Levesque. So he's got some pedigree behind him. A $5,000 yearling purchase.
Yeah, on the opposite end of the gate one, I'll be interested to watch. That's number 1, Let 'Em Be. This was my favorite video I saw all sale season last year. Not really much pedigree behind him. The dam is a half sister to Super Shizzle, who made nearly $400,000, but really love the video on this horse. He looked the part, so excited to watch him from the rail.
We'll send it up to Michael Chamberlain for the 7th.
And the driver change here on the 2, DD's Morning Glory, will be Atlee Bender. They are off. And in the center, it's Don't Call Me Angel and Poppleton, who both get away to good beginnings. DD's Morning Glory is at the inside, as is Let 'Em Be. Then Aro and Dover, and after that is Pax a Wallop, and the early trailer here is Real Help. They move on to the first turn, and going off stride, going onto that turn was Pax a Wallop. Pax a Wallop went off stride. 30 2/4 mile. And on the backstretch, it's Poppleton who's opened up a 3-length lead now. After that comes Don't Call Me Angel, DD's Morning Glory third. After that is Let 'Em Be, and then a break of 4 back to Roan Over. And the next one comes is Real Help, and still having issues at the back is Pax a Wallop. As they approach the half mile, the leader here is Poppleton. That's a lead of 2 lengths. Don't Call Me Angel is second by 3. Next is DD's Morning Glory, the half up in 1:01. Poppleton in front going to the second turn. In second is Don't Call Me Angel. And then after that is DD's Morning Glory. Let 'Em Be is fourth. Roan Dover is in fifth. And then it's Real Help as they move around the turn. And Poppleton has opened up the lead to 6. Second is Don't Call Me Angel. And then another 6 back to Let 'Em Be, who's taken third. At the top of the stretch, 3/4, 1:31 Poppleton in front, and Let 'Em Be has gone off stride. Let 'Em Be off stride at the top of the stretch. It is Poppleton. Poppleton still there. And Don't Call Me Angel trying to close in now. Poppleton and Don't Call Me Angel, this top 2 well in front of the rest. It is Poppleton. Poppleton in front here in deep stretch. Don't Call Me Angel is second. Poppleton coming down to the finish for Jordan Ross. Don't Call Me Angel trying to rally up the inside for Trace Tetrick, but Poppleton holds on. Don't Call Me Angel was second. Rowan Dover was third, and Real Help fourth in 2:01 3.
2:01 3 for Poppleton. We were talking a little bit about him off air. Nice looking son of Don't Let 'Em, out of a nice mare, Bars Duchess, Above the Bar, one of those Indiana sires we were talking about, Jacob.
Yeah, half brother here to Rocky Road Aldo, who we see here in action here at Hoosier Park, made over $100,000. But those first 2 finishers were from the first crop of Don't Let 'Em. This is a stallion I'm really excited about. Don't Let 'Em was a horse that showed a lot of speed on the racetrack. Could be a little cantankerous, go off stride from time to time, but when he put it together, he had a lot of speed.
Yeah, very much so. Ronnie, we were talking a little bit about trotters and pacers, and I feel like we just, again, keep throwing questions at you. But do you have a preference between trotters and pacers?
No, honestly, I don't. I like to train either one of them. A little bit, I have more pacers because, like, people always say a good trotter will make more money than a good pacer. That's not true. Look at the stats. Pacers make more money, and we're in this business to make money, number one. 2, and most of my owners are too, that it's an investment, not just a thing. So we lean to the pacers, but we've had a lot of great trotters, and they're enjoyable. They're fun. It's a funner, more fun ride. Maybe it's more glamorous, but I don't really care. I like both gates.
And then as far as training is concerned, we were talking a little bit too about, colts versus fillies and things like that. And you said you train in sets of 7 and 8. Do you typically keep pacers with pacers and trotters with trotters, or you don't mind mixing there?
Nah, it's pacing colts with pacing colts, pacing fillies with pacing fillies. Yeah. It's nice. We have 90 babies, probably 70 were in Florida together. So it's easy to group them up. And as we get going faster, we'll start cutting them to 4 or 5, just because putting bikes and, that many guys out there, something's going to go wrong.
Right.
One of us is going to get hurt. And I bounced off the track 2 years ago and I didn't enjoy it. So, at this age, I 3 or 4 is plenty when we're going fast.
Very good. Very good. Jacob, anything that you want to mention there?
You kind of mentioned in the state of Indiana, you kind of limit it to Swan for all on the trotting side. Nationally, I think Chapter 7 Walner's really emerged on the national scale. Do you kind of cut down stallions when you go to Lexington or Harrisburg, or are you more wide open on kind of the Grand Circuit scene of things?
A little bit more wide open, but I know what I like. I became a better trotting trainer when I start buying Muscle Hills. I found out I was pretty good once I just got the best baby and put the harness on him and let him trot. It wasn't really that hard. So, a lot of what, it's what fits you. You just don't. Better's Delight was a great sire. Being honest, he wasn't for us. We did all right. We ended up with all bets off. It's funny, you ended up with it's the most money of any of his babies, but it wasn't like, they don't really go quick. They're not quick learners. They come to it late. That doesn't fit my patient lifestyle. Right. So, it's a little bit like, I feel like Tall Dark Strangers now the same way. I'm training these things down and I was like, blah, blah, blah. And then now we put them in bikes and I'm like, they're better than I thought. You know, the Pappy Robs, from the minute we hooked them, they were great. So, it's different. You just got to know what fits you and what you enjoy and what you like, and don't try to, bend the book to fit you, make, them do what they want to do.
I have to remind myself that all the time at the yearling sale. I'll get down there and I get like starstruck, right? Like it's some Payson filly, and I'm like, wait, I don't like Payson fillies. Why am I over here crying over a Payson filly? Bob. So great question. Southwind Frank, a few horses are called great. Southwind Frank, would you say is a step below that? Where do you rank him?
As a 2-year-old, he was great. I mean, he was great. He was as good as any 2-year-old. Probably, he was Muscle Hill. I mean, he lost once he made a break mid-stretch. As a 3-year-old, he was sore. And I give him all the credit in the world. He lost to Hambo by a nose when he was running on the last turn. He just was sore, and that's why we didn't bring him back as a 4-year-old. As a stallion, it was a disaster. You just couldn't get mares in foal at first, and then it was a shame because what the ones he got in foal, he did very well. And I think he could have made a sire, but he was a great 2-year-old. He was a good 3-year-old, so he's somewhere in between.
Somewhere in between, like that. We were talking a little bit about mares and things like that, and we were talking about hope you like the show here. You've got him coming up, 2-year-old colt by JK Indominera. We of course talked about the Well Stud mare and Lucy's Pearl, broodmare of the year, of course, Luz Pearlman. Talk to us a little bit about this colt. You said obviously on your list what you saw of him at the sale, what you liked, and obviously why you decided to step out for $100,000 for him.
Yeah, when I went there, I called Mark and I said, listen, this is Lou Pearlman, just a bigger, better version. I said, he's the same size as Lou Pearlman is right now. I said, basically, I'm buying this colt, whatever it cost, unless Slash DeLong's Pollock said somebody's the same thing. Right? So, I was very happy to get him. I liked him the whole way training down. He reminds me of the family. He has little quirks, but high speed. And I'm going to be really disappointed if he don't have a real good year this year.
I like it. Again, by JK Indominera, out of that Well Said mare. Again, a few others in here. Jacob, we were talking a little bit about it. Real Desire, still siring. He's got She's Real in here. And then we've got a Check 6 as well, a 2-year-old filly for Sanford Rob. So we see a little bit of everything in this field coming up.
Yeah, Real Desire got to finish out his stallion career here in Indiana. Sired Rock and Ron, who I know, Ron, you're familiar with. Rock and Ron was one of those horses really good at 2 and 3, but then kind of took another step forward at 4 and 5. Actually beat Wiglet Jiglet up in Canada, I believe. What do you remember about Rock and Ron?
Rock and Ron was tough and still is tough. He raced last year and made 100,000 almost last year. This year he's been a little sore, and he's out in the Field of Dreams right now. So at some point in the Field of Dreams, I go and get him back out and try him and give him one more chance, or sometimes they just stay there till their natural end. So I don't know if we'll ever see Rock and Ron again, but he'll also always have a home, and he'll just hang out with us, for the rest of his life if he never races again.
It's something I have just the utmost respect for, because we talk about 2-year-olds and speed and things like that, Ronnie. But your outfit, it just seems like, and we were talking a little bit about it. You were talking about the Field of Dreams, how oftentimes you create these, we call them war horses up here, but, just week in and week out. I mean, just true champions on and off the track. And so many of those have come from your outfit. You talk about, the likes of Rock and Ron, Won the West, you just go on Backstreet Shadow, the likes. I mean, this is the play. You just keep going down the list, and it's just absolutely incredible. Talk to us a little bit about your training regime and what it means for the horses long term.
We keep horses fit. And I always say fit horses stay sound, soft
Yeah.
horses break down. So we're, people think sometimes maybe we're pushing them a little harder, but we're really not. We push them for a quarter, we stretch them, and I always tell people what I do. I'm not saying it's the right way to do it or it's the way to do it. It's my way. It works for me. I've tried other ways. It doesn't work for me. So, you got to find something that works for you and that you're comfortable doing with and you're comfortable with the results. And, we have a lot of horses that stay going till 7, 8, 9 and things. And, most of those ones, once they get to the, that point, they get the, home for life. Thank God, we have 2 or 3 farms now and we can, use a field at each farm for, pensioners and, and you like to go out and see them. And Foiled gets a little different treatment than all of them. He goes
He
Florida
celebrates his
home,
birthday.
yeah, and he goes Florida, in the winter, and then he comes home to my parents in the summer. So, but basically, he built the house they're living in, so he can have anything they want.
The house that Foiled built. I love it. You got to love it. We're talking a little bit about Hope You Like the Show. He's coming up here in the 8th race, Jacob. But another one in here, the 6th Bluebird Dynasty. This is another JK filly. Or colt rather, out of that Love You Always mare, who of course we've seen so many of her foals on the Indiana sired circuit from Bluebird Meadows, Peter Dahl, PBR Street Gang, and the like. $66,000 yearling purchase for Team Qualifier.
Yeah, really been a big fan of this mare. She has a good mare in her own right, made over $160,000, took a mark of 52. But you mentioned 2 six-figure earners there in Peter Dalton, PBR Street Gang. Also had Bluebird Love. I was a really big fan of that filly. Miss Jessica had her. Love the pedigree on this one. And $66,000, fairly reasonable for a horse that's proven she can throw some good foals, and sired by JK and Monero.
Yeah, like we said, nice group going posted here. Again, a field of 8 in this this afternoon's 8th race. One other one, Jacob, that we were talking about, Riggins. Haven't seen too many of those. This one out of a Ponder mare. It's been a while since we've seen a Riggins, but they've got some speed. It seems like every once in a while we'll see a pretty fast one. MJ Riggins Rebel and the likes.
Yeah, we see the full brother to this one racing pretty much week in, week out here at Hoosier Park. I think on the fair circuit now, PFC Casey Winton, kind of a mouthful there, but he's made over $20,000. Took a mark of 56. Riggins, not necessarily a sire stick sire, but you see quite a few of them on the Indiana sired fair circuit.
Yeah, and similar story for Check 6. One of those, of course, Ronnie, you're very familiar with him. Maybe not the super success as a sire, but certainly was a great racehorse in his own regard.
Yeah, no, very good horse, and he's came on a little bit in the last year or two, so he's picking it up.
The 8-horse Ideal Check is a scratch, a field of 7. They are up. Getting away well is Rocky Dude, right up to take the lead. Hope You Like the Show advances on the outside, and She's Real is third. After that, Odds On Alexandria with Bluebird Dynasty and Lucy Sue. Moving up 3 wide now is Billy Bo Billy as they go on to the first turn with Hope You Like the Show taking over. Second is Rocky Dude. After that, third, She's Real. Opening quarter, 29-4. Hope You Like the Show now in front 2 lengths. Second is Rocky Dude. She's Real is third. After that comes Odds On Alexandria with Lucy Sue. Sixth is Bluebird Dynasty, and another length and a half to the trailer, Billy Bo Billy. As they continue on to the half mile, Hope You Like the Show in front by a length and 3/4. After that is Rocky Dude, then She's Real. They are at the half in 59-2. Hope You Like the Show leads the way on to the second turn. After that is Rocky Dude, then She's Real. Next comes Odds On Alexandria and Lucy Sue. 5 lengths back to Bluebird Dynasty, and Billy Bo Billy trails the field midway around the second turn. Hope You Like the Show, still the leader. Second is Rocky Dude. She's Real is third with 3/4 up in 128-4. Into the stretch, Hope You Like the Show is the leader. Second is Rocky Dude, and She's Real third. Getting closer fourth, Odds On Alexandria. Final 1/8 of a mile, it is Hope You Like the Show, and that lead is 2.5 lengths coming down to the finish. Hope You Like the Show is going to win a second qualifier, and Hope You Like the Show gets it done by 4. Rocky Dude, then She's Real, and Odds On Alexandria in 155-3.
55-3 for Hope You Like the Show. Ronnie, have to believe you have to be pretty happy with that.
Yeah, no, it's a good mile. There's a little bit of a breeze today, and he was strong to the wire. That's what we were looking for him. That sets him up good now for his, one race probably, and then into Sire Stakes. And very happy with him. The breeding's there, the looks are there, and the attitude's there. So I expect that colt to be very good for us this year.
And we were talking a little bit about it and off air, so I feel like we need to mention it on camera. We were talking about staking and things like that, and I was asking, how you approach staking your Indiana breds, and you made the comment that they don't necessarily have to leave the state to, make some decent money, and they don't have to travel all over the country to do it.
No, it's such a great program in that way. You have 9 starts, so you don't. If you start in every race and throw in a baby race, throw in the elevation here, you're at 11 right there. So, what really more do you need? You go, if you really think they're good, you go Breeders' Crown, get you 12. And, last year we took Noblesville to the Governor's Cup, and he was, he acquitted himself well there. But I wonder if that was too much. We were looking at 13 or 14 at the end of the year. And, he started off a little slow this year. He was finally good last night, pace 48. But maybe we took a little bit too much out of him last year. And, it's going to take us a little bit longer to get him going this year.
And kind of talking about horses taking a step forward, Emily, I have to imagine you got some happy connections there. Your mom training number 4, Rocky Dude, really nice step forward. Got home in 27-4 last time out, but went right with Hope You Like the Show from the pocket trip. Never gave up in the stretch.
Yeah, Philly, my dad's been high on all winter. She had some chips out. She's really kind of coming into her own. We were talking a little bit about fillies against colts and things like that. And like you said, you just want to see her keep her confidence up. And she's got the want to, which, as we talked about, Ronnie, oftentimes can't train into that. So if they've got the want to, they got the right attitude. That a lot of times goes a long way.
Especially Western Terror mares. That's, they're very now in demand. That's, By the Missiles out of Western Terror mare. I think that's a great breeding. JK out of Western Terror, in Indiana, you're buying one of the better bred horses bred like that.
We were talking about staking and talking about 2-year-old season and things like that, and it can be a very stressful time for you. Is staking season as stressful? I would have to believe that whenever those stake payments are, you're obviously the guy that says, yes, we're staking this. No, we're not. What's that like for you? That's got to be another time that's insanely stressful.
Yeah, especially, I hit the button at the end and it gives me the total immediately. And I'm like, Jesus, this is a lot,
Yeah.
But, if you're buying babies and you're not going to stake them, then you shouldn't be buying babies. That's where you got to make the money back with them. And, it's such an exciting time of the year for when you're hitting the button and you believe in your horses. You just got to be as honest as you can with yourself.
Yeah.
And sometimes it hurts because, you paid a lot for that baby and they're not doing that well. But you know what? It doesn't bother you at all when you paid a little for that baby and they're doing great. So, once they get a harness on them, I try to treat them all the same because they don't know what you paid for them, and
right.
They, let them determine their greatness or lack thereof.
I got a question, Bob, then I'm going to go to you. So we talked so much, Ronnie, about the horses, obviously that were great. And we could, again, talk for another 2 hours about the great horses that you've had. But is there a horse that maybe completely took you by surprise? You talk about staking and things like that, training down. And again, you were talking about South and Frank and these horses at 2-year-olds. And a lot of times it's easier to spot the bad ones. But was there a horse that, maybe underwhelmed you and then just completely took you by surprise?
It's a fact that not in the way she underwhelmed me, but Mission Brief never stayed flat one time in Florida.
Wow.
She ran every mile. But sometimes I'd see her make a break at the quarter. I'd look back, she'd be like 50 lengths behind and we'd hit the wire and she'd be next to me and I'd be like doing the math in my head. And I'm like, that's impossible what she just did. And so the first time I biked her in Jersey, I trained her in 2 minutes, back half 56. And when I pulled up, Tony Alanya was standing there and said, there's no way that's a 2-year-old. And I said, yes, it is. He said, that's the most impressive thing I've ever seen. And I said, she's a freak, but she doesn't stay flat. But she figured it out. By the time the races started, we got it. And every once in a while, her old habit, we gave away a Breeders' Crown once at Top Lane where she just decided to blow up.
Wasn't her night.
Blue Ridge Western was a horse that I thought was, just average.
Yeah.
The first time I trained him in a bike, hey, this thing's all right. And he went on and made $1 million. So
great question.
You talk about horses impress you. I watch Jamie's horses a little bit tighter because, I take pride in her
Right.
because she's a former. This rail horse was very good last week.
Yeah.
That was very good. It was impressive. And I was wondering, what the $50 bills will be. And, so far what I've seen of them, they look all right.
Yeah, agreed. This was one of those horses that last week you talk about physical specimen and a horse that, of course, you talk about taking pride. Jamie's horses always look just so great on the track, but this colt physically, I felt like looked like maybe a step ahead. One that I was interested to see on the track today, Jacob. That's the 2 Father TJ. Here's a 2-year-old colt by Father Patrick first foal out of that Donato Hanover mare, $120,000 yearling purchase for Team Qualifier.
Jeff and Tom Pollock really like this filly too because there's one in the 10th that goes back to this family. But the Dam Dip Me Hanover, she is an O'Brien Award winner up in Canada. She won the Peaceful Way in 2019 for trainer Linda Toscano. First foal out of a really good mare, certainly warrants that $120,000 price tag.
And there's one coming up later. We'll get to it, but I believe is out of a sister to this mare that he bought at the Indiana sale. So something tells me that he really liked. I was actually last night doing the math. I'm like, okay, the Indiana sale is after Lexington, so maybe he got this one home, liked the way it broke, and I'll have to ask Jeff about that. But yeah, looking forward to watching that one a little later. You talked about the $50 bills, Ronnie. We've got another one here in the 550 Flowers. Here's a homebred filly for Team Right Out, Jacob, out of that mare Herbie's Wildflower, who of course Indiana Sire Stakes winners here in the state.
I was a really big fan of that mare, Herbie's Wildflower. She was in that same crop with Hanover and Charita. She's had a good foal already. Wild Way, half sister, $108,000 for Wild Way. So gotta love the pedigree on this Wild Way. That first crop of $50 bill, you touched on him. Breeders' Crown winner here at Hoosier Park, a son of Swan for All. Kind of interesting how he was received at the Hoosier Classic. I think you kind of see with these horses that were Indiana horses coming back at stallions, they're going to have to prove it in their first couple of props to kind of justify yearling prices later on. But I've been impressed by what I've seen from the $50 bills to this point.
Yeah, and Ronnie, we talked a little bit about horses racing, and then going on to said, how important do you feel that it is to support these particularly you supporting some of these stallions that after they obviously go on and have a stallion career?
Oh, I think it's hugely important. Anybody knows us that anything, this year is summa cum laude in Ohio. It's his first crop. We're all in, everything I've seen. I've went to a lot of the farms to look at his babies. They're outstanding looking. They've stepped all the mares up. To me, the best, foal that the mares had are the summas. So, I'm going by the fact that there's no possible way he can fail as a sire with this many good looking. And, we have 6 homebreds, and we'll try to buy 2 to 3 better ones because, I really want to see him succeed.
Gotta love it, Bob. Yeah, go ahead.
Yeah, honestly, I got JK at the kind of towards the end of his 2-year-old year, and he won the Governor's Cup. I think he was really a good colt. Came back at 3 and was outstanding. And then that was the year Jeff came up with the corral rule where I couldn't have more than 2 in any big race. And I lost him over that. And those are great people to train for, 3 brothers. And so pretty much after that, I did, I lost all control, but they were cool with me. They gave me a breeding. I still have a breeding to him every year. So, they're good people.
How often do you turn down new owners?
Quite a bit anymore, being honest. We're just not in that phase of our lives. And, like Mark says all the time, when I do get a new owner, why'd you take that? If any horse you want, we'll get it for you, and so I do appreciate my guys. They've been here for so long, and all my guys. So, I wouldn't say I never will take any more, but I really don't want it a lot anymore.
Got to be selective, and I love it. Hopefully Mark's listening because it makes me laugh so much. Okay, we're talking about the 9th race at Jacob. Again, a nice field set to go postward. And we talked a little bit. I just wanted to mention we've got a Pastor Stephen. I know you touched on it a little bit, but looking forward to watching this crop here.
First crop from a horse that was exported before coming back to stand stud in Indiana, but this one has a good pedigree. The 4 GV Miss Steven, half sister to GV Swanderfa, who Jesse Yoder had, was really good last spring here at Hoosier Park.
We'll send it up to Michael Chamberlain for the call.
Field of 7, and here they come. They are off. Away well at the inside, $50 tab, and on the outside, Flight to Broadway. 50 Flowers moves 3rd, And at the inside is Father TJ. Next comes GV Miss Steven with On to Norway 6th, and Great Flick is the early trailer. Moving on the turn and moving to the lead, Flight to Broadway now by a length. Flight to Broadway with a quarter up in 31 and 3. Second is $50 Tab, and Father TJ races third. Next in fourth is 50 Flowers. After that, GV Miss Steven. Sixth On to Norway, seventh Great Flick. Field is somewhat spread out as they move up the backstretch. And the leader is Flight to Broadway. Flight to Broadway has it by a length and 3/4. Second, $50 Tab. Then 3.5 back to Father TJ with the half up in 1:02. They're moving to the second turn, and Flight to Broadway continues to take them along in front here by 2 lengths. Second is $50 Tab, and Father TJ third, about 5 lengths off the leader. Next is 50 Flowers, then GV Miss Steven. The last two are On to Norway and Great Flick. They're coming to the top of the stretch. Flight to Broadway has it from $50 Tab by 3 lengths. Another 2 back to Father TJ, 3/4, 1:32. 30 seconds, the third quarter. Flight to Broadway is the leader. $50 Tab is second, and then Father TJ third as they move to the final eighth of a mile. Flight to Broadway now getting closer are $50 Tab and Father TJ. Here comes $50 Tab up to take the lead, but Father TJ right there, and Father TJ will get the victory. $50 Tab second, Flight to Broadway, then GV Miss Steven in 2 minutes and 4 fifths.
2 minutes and 4 fifths for Father TJ off a half in 1:02, Jacob, and really trotted home nicely for Team Qualifier.
Yeah, really got down the quarter-mile long stretch here. Very impressively. 4-trace H pedigree coming through there. I have to imagine this horse is staked pretty well. Being a Father Patrick out of a really good mare, have to imagine that they're looking forward to more than just Hoosier Park here for Father TJ.
Yeah, and like I said, I believe it's Swan Jewel in the very next race out of a sister to this mare. So Team Qualifier obviously saw something they liked there out of this colt. Another one we were talking about, Ronnie, and you watched him. That's $50 Tab. You mentioned that you had ventured out here to train, and Jamie had this one, and really impressed with him. Again, another one from the first crop of $50 bill.
Yeah, no, it looked very good. Tommy's colt was super. That's a great effort. Maybe Tommy needs to sell or something. So, maybe like we'll put in an offer there, Tommy, for you, so, but he was really good. The colt that really looked too, the colt that cut the mile won a great mile.
Yeah.
He didn't give it up to the last little bit. And that's good work on the front today. And, really looked good and, trotted home nice.
Emily, you and I had talked about this. He's from the second crop of Pilot Discretion. That's Flight to Broadway. Pilot Discretion, really limited number of mares in his first couple of crops, but I've been really, really impressed by what he's thrown from these first couple of crops.
Yeah, very much so. And so many times, and Ronnie, you were talking a little bit about this, the buyers and the breeders are tough, really tough on a stallion. It can be hard as far as from a stallion perspective, to continue to get good mares. And you talk so much about that, Ronnie, as far as the mares that they get and success breeds off success, I guess figuratively and literally there. But, it rolls into success. They get the good mares and it can be tough for a stallion. Talk to us a little bit about that particular side of things.
It's funny. Drivers and stallions are the same. We'll give everybody a shot, but when we're done with you, we're done with you. So and you can move states, you can do whatever you want. Right. Once you get the dead call, you're dead.
Yep.
So it's so important that your first, crop, you have something, because even, I have a stud in Ohio, Dancing Yankee. He had a bad first crop. Now as a 3-year-old, some of these things are coming on. They're looking good and they're doing good. And I'm thinking, people, he wasn't bad. He just, took him 1 year, but, I think
the same for Captain Crunch, right? I think he was, he had gem quality, right? But I think people were a little hard on him, and now it seems like they kind of turned around.
Believe me, after his 2-year-old year, I was like, I ain't getting no Captain Crunches, and that's from Lou's family. And I was like, those things were horrible, but they aren't that bad. Now I'm looking, and I got a 2-year-old this year that's all right. I got stuck with one, that was a homebred of one of my best owners, and I'm thinking maybe I might have been too quick to judge too. So you do need to give them a year or two, but it's just so hard because, if you ate one, why do you want to eat two? And you can always go back to the studs that, are proven.
Right.
And it's funny, like sometimes like the new one will get an added bonus where they'll punish a horse that's, been breeding great horses every year. Like, well, why were you mad at them? Just because something's new doesn't make it better. But, that's what I said. But just like drivers, everybody will give you a shot. But if you don't produce, it ain't good. Once we're done, you're done.
That's exactly right. So again, we got just one more qualifier, but we were talking a little bit about, once you're done, you're done. Talk to us a little bit about, you said you get a couple qualifiers. When, I don't want to say give up, but when do you pull the plug on a 2-year-old? You've maybe exhausted. What does that process look like, right? Of course, we talk about all the great ones that we've had and things like that, but when do you just call a spade, and what's that process like, particularly with Weaver?
Mark calls it cutting the umbilical cord. And it's a joke, because somebody mispronounced it 10 years ago to us. But like Mark's real quick. They, if they're bad, just tell him. He'll get them on gate. He'll get them moved. He'll do whatever. The best one we ever had, our first Valley victory we ever had, I was breaking it up north and I sent it to my dad. And I said, Dad, this thing's garbage. And he's like, how could it be garbage? And I'm like, Dad, I'm just telling you, it's a horrible horse. And he's like, just send it down here. I said, okay. I sent him the colt. I asked him like 2 weeks later, how's that colt going? He goes, I Amished him on payments. I go, bad. He goes, that's the worst horse we've ever had in our barn. So sometimes you just know, and it's time to move on. And it's just hard. If they're well bred and you've got a lot of money, it's harder to do. If they're cheaper,
right.
You can just cut the loss, but you have to do at some point. You just can't keep putting good money after bad. They tell you pretty quick, once in a while you'll have that one that fools you, but for the most part, like I said,
pretty straightforward.
I can't tell you the good ones for sure. I can tell you the bad ones quick.
Yeah. Very much so. Very much so. As I said, we're getting ready for the last qualifier here. We've got a field of 8 set to go postward, Jacob, and a couple big stick Lindy's. The 3, Mr. Instigator. This is one I went back and looked. Again, we were talking about Pastor Steven, but a $75,000 yearling purchase. This was from Topville Acres. This is a colt, a gelding rather, out of that Donato Hanover mare. All set, let's go.
Half-brother Gruesome Twosome, who we saw win an Indiana Sire Stakes earlier this week in 153-2. He's been looked like a monster to start his 3-0 campaign for Daryl Bontrager. Got parked his first start and still winning like one of Sire Stakes coming back. I know Daryl Bontrager's got him staked pretty heavily this year. And Mr. Instigator, really strong effort last Wednesday in his first qualifier, getting home in 29-3 at the end of it. Did all they could ask. Roger Welch always has these 2-year-olds ready to go.
Yeah, very much so. It's similar story for trainer Byron Hooley. Seems like his 2-year-olds are always ready to go. He's got a 2-year-old filly by You Know You Do, who we haven't talked about. This one out of a Yankee Glide mare, $20,000 yearling purchase. This filly's got some pedigree behind her as well.
Half sister to Swan Cash Fries, who made nearly $100,000. And You Know You Do sired both the winners of that 3-year-old colt trot Sire Stakes leg. With No You Can Do was the other winner for Jeff Qualifiers. So You Know You Do, another one of those kind of under the radar stallions, doesn't get a huge number of mares, but making do with what he's got.
Yeah, very much so. And like you said, it's got some the second dam there, the likes of Banker Volo and Newport Volo and the like. So certainly some pedigree behind her. The 7, Swan Jewel, is the one I was talking about earlier. This is a Swan for All filly, a black filly. First foal of Karen Hanover, who is a sister to that Dip Me Hanover, who you talked about, an O'Brien Ward winner. And nice family here. Again, a filly by Swan for All.
Yeah, I'm sure the connection's hoping they'll follow the effort from Rockin' TJ or
quarter sister.
Father TJ, rather.
Yeah, Father TJ.
I knew it was a TJ something, but Father TJ in the last race, they're hoping for something similar there. And Trace Dietrich in the bike, so gotta like that. But gotta love the family there. Credit winner mare always gets along well with Swan for All.
Ronnie, before we again, we're going to go to this last qualifier and we'll wrap things up here. But we talked so much about Indiana. We've talked about the horses that you've got. Talk to us a little bit about anything. I know you said you've got a really nice, a couple of really nice colts. Talk to us a little bit about what you're looking forward to this season. Anything that's really standing out to you at this point?
Yeah, I got a Sweet Lou out of a Rockin'
Image mare. That's right, you said that.
Qualified already 55-26 at the Meadows. That like trained down as good as any colt I've had in a long time. And I have a filly out of Sweet Lou out of Looks Good in the Romper, which is another homebred, which is one of my favorite horses of all time. Just attitude, cool horse to be around. This is her first filly. And being honest, at this point, she has trained down better than any of my fillies have ever trained down. So, all they can do is disappoint me. But, it's exciting. I have a couple other ones, 90 horses. You better have a
Yeah.
bunch that you'd like,
This time
the
of
thing
year.
is, I don't have a lot that I hate. So that's why I'm happy with the system we went with. I think we've done a good job, and, we've done a good job training them down. So it's exciting. It's funny. Leander Schwartz seems to he buys good bargains. This is
Yeah.
a good looking horse here.
Yeah.
Swan for All, to Chapter 7 mare, 9,500. The horse looks good on the track. Looks very Chapter 7-ish. Excited to see how this one goes and see what it goes here.
Yeah, we talked about that just the other day, Jacob. Kobe's GG and the like. Shout out to Leander. Blue Million, is that his name? The trot and
Yeah,
colt.
was second in Sire Specs the other night too. You can do, but yeah, Leander Schwartz getting a lot out of his barn right now. He sends some horses kind of all over the place. You'll see some of his horses end up with Walter Haynes, some with Missy Essex too. So he's got some horses all over, but kind of good horses all over the place from the Fair Circuit to Indiana Sire Stakes.
Yeah, we were talking a little bit about horses coming up and things like that. Ronnie, shipping all over the country, racing all over the place. Again, we want to thank you so much for taking the time to be here today and enjoy this and talk a little bit about Indiana program and everything that we've got coming up. I know how busy you are. Of course, tonight just a little race called the North America Cup and all those races at Woodbine. So again, want to really thank you for taking the time.
Yeah, no, thank you for having me. There's nobody that likes their sound of their own voice more than I do. So don't worry about that. It's fun.
Very much so. Again, Jacob, we'll wrap it up right after this. So this is your warning to whatever question you have for Ronnie that you've been wanting to ask. We'll ask after this. But again, a nice group set to go postward. We've got a few giveaways too, right, Taylor? We're going to draw some folks to win some prizes after this. So we'll do that again, and we'll wrap things up after this race. We'll send it up to Michael Chamberlain for the call.
Thank you once again, Emily. We have two driver changes here. Number 1, Little Page. The driver is Devin Tharps. Number 6, Dina. The driver will be Brad Ferguson. Field of 8 in behind the gate for our final qualifier of this Saturday morning. And don't forget, racing starts Saturday night at 7 p.m. And as Emily mentioned, tonight is the Pepsi North America Cup, a great program at Woodbine Mohawk as well. So be sure to be here for that as we get ready for our final qualifier. They are off. At the inside, Little Page. There goes Mr. Instigator 2. And Dina is moving up for the lead. Jack Muscle on the outside. Then Martz 7 is 5th. Naturally Naughty is racing 6th. And the last two are Miracle Maven and Swan Jewel. They go on to the first turn. And it is Mr. Instigator who has the early lead. Mr. Instigator just over a length in front. Dina is second with the opening quarter up in 30-4. And going off stride is Little Page. Little Page went on a break, moving to the back stretch. So now they move to the back stretch, and Mr. Instigator opens up a quick 6-length lead. Second is Dina, and another 3 back of that to Jack Muscle. Martz 7 is 4th. Then comes Naturally Naughty. Little Page is back on stride with Miracle Maven and Swan Jewel. Half a minute and 2/5. As they go on to the second turn, Mr. Instigator is in front by 7 lengths. Second is Dina, a break of 5 back to third, and Jack Muscle. Onto that second turn they go, and Mr. Instigator has it here by 7. Second is Dina, and now 7 back to Jack Muscle. Next is March 7, then Naturally Naughty, as they move into the stretch with 3/4 up in 1:30-1. Off the turn, Mr. Instigator has a large lead, out there in front by about 12. It is Mr. Instigator all alone in front. Dina is second, and then the rest well back. But as they come down to the finish, Mr. Instigator is gone goodbye. Mr. Instigator, an emphatic winner this morning, getting it done in 1:59-2. March 7 second, then Dina, and it's close for 4th, Jack Muscle and Naturally Naughty.
Uh, 1:59-2 for Mr. Instigator. Jacob, I have to believe Team Welch is pretty excited with their $75,000 purchase there.
Roger Welch with a good night last night. Tell me it matters. Getting the job done in 149 and Sire Stakes. Comes back with a good morning this morning. He was very, very impressive. Really pretty much under wraps for driver John DeLong. Did all they asked of him. Roger Welch, no stranger to good trotters in the state. Of course, Millionaire Bridge to Jesse's.
We were talking about, I was just thinking that a little Bridge to Jesse's action there. Love it. I know Roger's wife, Amy, would be very excited to have a Bridge to Jesse Jr. We were talking about Ronnie March 7, a sneaky good qualifier there from that 2-year-old filly from the Leander Schwartz barn.
Yeah, no, if you watched him late, the last 100 yards, horse had a lot alert trot, was very good gated. That's a good horse. That was good effort.
Again, I want to thank everybody for joining us for another edition of Breakfast at the Hop. As we said, I want to thank Ronnie for taking the time. Of course, our food and beverage staff, AV staff, and everyone for joining us. This is a series we're going to continue throughout the month of June. So we want to invite everybody out to join us. Like I said, we've got some giveaways. Bob, any final questions for the man, the myth, the legend?
70.
Social Security.
I have to live to 80 to make sure I beat the thing, and I'm not planning on dying before 80.
Gotta love it. Jacob?
No, not too much. I think we've kind of covered a lot of bases here today. I've just really enjoyed this. It's always great to talk to someone who's been around so many great horses, been so instrumental in this state alone. I do want to touch on Go On BB. We touched on her a little bit earlier. She was Indiana's first millionaire, kind of the first horse that stepped onto the Grand Circuit stage regularly. What do you remember about Go On BB, and when did you kind of know that you had an Indiana bred?
I'm glad you brought her up. We could not have Ron Burke on the program and not mention the Queen.
We bought her because Summer in Fiji had broke down and nobody knew. And so we looked and said, who's the second best filly? And what was Go On BB, and the mayor of Indiana, Frank Baldacchino, got her bought. And, Frank's probably the reason we've stayed in Indiana. There's times where we've lost focus, and Frank keeps us, into it. And he loves the state more than anybody, and it's funny. He's a Jersey guy that lives on the Jersey Shore.
Sure, that's right.
And nobody, all he talks about some lady makes him biscuits when he comes here, I'm like, but Frank loves the state. He loves the program, and he keeps us dialed in here.
I love it too, because there's nobody more passionate. I mean, he shares the same passion. It could be 11:30 at night, and he's texting me about some pick 5 at Hoosier Park, and I'm like, you got to love the enthusiasm. The other thing that I love is that I actually co-own a horse with Frank, and it's a homebred. And he texts me like it's MM's dream, and I absolutely love it. Like MM's dream will be racing somewhere, and we're texting about our silly little homebred. And so I love the passion that he has, and the enthusiasm, and it just makes it a lot of fun, which I have to believe that is the same for you.
Yeah, and a lot of it I think did come from Go On BB. Go On BB gave him 4 good years of true dominance, you know, and racing great and racing everywhere in the country. And, we ended up with her sister because of her Say It All. BB won the Breeders' Crown. And the only reason we bought her was it was because Go On BB's sister, right? We bought all the family. So, that guy does a great job breeding. Bob Bendel, that's, a lot of people, I don't know if they know that's what the BB stands for. And, Frank is, keeps in contact with him too. And, that's what I said. Frank, he's watching these qualifiers. I guarantee you he'll have a list of 3 or 4 that he feels that could be, the next champion. So good for him.
Again, I feel like we could sit here all day, but again, want to thank Ronnie for taking the time up, and we will announce those winners. And again, thank everybody.